let's keep it going with commodities. Now, the International Energy Agency, or the IEA, believes that the world oil market will be comfortably supplied in 2025, despite OPEC Plus extending supply cuts by 3 months as well and issuing a higher than anticipated demand forecast. Now, you do have the agency that has increased its 2025 global oil demand growth, like I mentioned, to 1.1 million barrels per day from 990,000 barrels per day last month, largely in Asian countries due to the impact of China's recent stimulus measures. So that's the word coming in from them. In fact, they also expect non-OPEC plus nations to also boost supply by about 1.5 million barrels per day next year as well, driven by the United States, Canada, Brazil and Argentina as well, more than the rate of demand growth.
Okay, so well, it's not looking good for the global handover coming in terms of equity. Oil is spooked, gold is not doing well, and surprisingly, crypto is also not doing very well right now because you have a 1.8% cut coming in on Bitcoin also as we speak. Seems like it's Friday the 13th indeed for the street because you also still have a 100-point cut at least penciled in for the futures for our markets as well. But on that note, let's take a look at the important cues to watch out for in today's trade. And remember, we had CPI data come out day before yesterday. Today we have the WPI data, which is the wholesale price index data coming out from back home. So that's going to be a very important economic indicator to watch out for. You have industrial production then coming in from the UK as well as Eurozone and Japan. And from Japan, you also have the Tankan Index survey coming out. But shifting focus back home, let's quickly talk about the companies that will be in focus on the back of some corporate action or board meetings. And Sudarshan Chemical is going to be a company, or rather a stock that's going to be in focus on the back of its board meeting today, wherein the board is going to meet and mull fundraising. Now remember, 5th December also the board had met to meet fundraising. This is going to be their second meeting in just a week to mull fundraising once again. So a lot of action to track when it comes to Sudarshan Chemical. But let's also talk about IRB Infra Trust, which is the InvIT of IRB. That's also going to be in focus because it's the record date for its rights issue today. So lots of cues to watch out for. Keep a close eye on all of these counters as well today.
Well, absolutely. Lots of cues to watch out for today as well. And come next week, we will of course be having the Federal Reserve announcing their decision as well. And that is something that we're watching out for. But on to the big headlines we're tracking this morning then. Producer prices in the United States were up by the most in 5 months. A surge in the prices of eggs amid an avian flu outbreak also accounted for the majority of the rise in inflation last month as well. When you take a look at the producer price index for final demand, jumped 0.4%, the largest gain coming in since June after an upwardly revised 0.3% increase in October as well. Now, in the 12 months through November, PPI shot up 3%, the biggest year-on-year increase coming in since February 2023, and followed a 2.6% rise in October as well. So that's the latest update as far as the producer prices are concerned.
Okay, let's shift focus from the US to Europe because the European Central Bank has gone ahead and cut rates for a 4th time this year, keeping the door open towards further easing. The central bank has cut its key deposit rate by 25 bips to 3% amid concerns over growth. Shifting focus to commentary from President Christine Lagarde, she says that the Eurozone economy is losing momentum even as the labour market continues to show signs of resilience. The bank expects inflation for the region to ease to 2% by the end of 2025. On the inflation front, Lagarde said that the underlying inflation print remains in line with the trajectory towards 2%, but expects fluctuations over the near term, with expectations of geopolitical tensions leading to a flare-up in pricing pressures. Let's go across and listen into what more she had to say.
Domestic inflation has edged down but remains high, mostly because wages and prices in certain sectors are still adjusting to the past inflation surge with a substantial delay. Financing conditions are easing as our recent interest rate cuts gradually make new borrowing less expensive for firms and households. But they continue to be tight because our monetary policy remains restrictive and past interest rate hikes are still transmitting to the outstanding stock of credit. We are determined to ensure that inflation stabilizes sustainably at our 2% medium-term target. We will follow a data-dependent and meeting-by-meeting approach to determining the appropriate monetary policy stance. The economy should strengthen over time, although more slowly than previously expected. The rise in real wages should strengthen household spending. We expect inflation to fluctuate around its current level in the near term, as previous sharp falls in energy prices continue to drop out of the annual rates. It should then settle sustainably at around the 2% medium target.
All right, then there you have it. That's the word coming in from Christine Lagarde. She's talked about how they're determined to keep inflation at a particular level. And she's also talked about how the ECB is prepared for a quarter-point rate cut at the next two meetings. That's the key word coming in from Christine Lagarde's speech as well. But moving on and shifting focus to the crypto space then, because you do have US President-elect Donald Trump. He said that he expects the United States then to become the global leader for cryptocurrency in his upcoming term. Trump's embrace of the crypto industry is a welcome pivot for digital currency investors from the stance of the current administration as well. In fact, during his visit to the New York Stock Exchange, Trump also detailed the rationale behind his bullishness, expressing intent to be ahead of the curve. And this is quite the fillip that crypto can actually use at this point, because when you take a look at what happened yesterday, Snehi, you did have across the board cryptocurrencies, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, etc. just sort of declining. Bitcoin down 1.5% and Dogecoin down 3.5%. In fact.
Surprisingly, because the run-up that Doge has seen after the election and the appointment of a Doge committee with Elon Musk, that cryptocurrency has been on a tear. But right now, like Shreyansi mentioned, Bitcoin seeing some very steep cuts are once again below that 100,000 mark. Ether is doing pretty well as of now, but that's about the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies. But moving on to